Let's see. Are we good? Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Miss Julia Reyes. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Listen, I'm so excited to be here with you. Your smile is absolutely radiant.
Thank you.
Listen, as you know, I just want to say, on behalf of the encouragement campaign, we appreciate you taking time to talk with us. We're really so happy that with some of the things that you went through during this pandemic, that you were able to pull through and be able to keep that positive mindset and be able to kind of move mountains and do things that many others haven't done. And so I appreciate you taking a few minutes with us tonight so we could actually talk and kind of get to know
Of
better
course.
the
Of
situation.
course. Yes.
So I remember, let's see, I remember, and you tell me now, I'm getting mature now, so I
Okay.
can't remember things as well as I used to. So let me say this. I think that I probably spoke to you, I want to say early May, right? Was it just
Yes.
something?
Yeah, it was like late spring. Yes.
Right? It,
Yes.
it was somewhere
Yeah.
around there. And, we were
Yeah.
just kind of talking. And I know that the first thing I say, how are you doing? Are you staying safe? And you say, are you staying well? I know I had to have said that. And
Yes.
then at that time you had told me that, yeah, you're doing good. I'm doing good. And then you said, yeah, I had the virus.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I had it pretty early. I had it in March.
Ah,
I remember it was March 13
okay.
when I started feeling kind of funny.
Right.
And then every day it got worse and I got more symptoms. And at that time, nobody knew anything about it. There was a panic, and I just knew, like, I don't want to go to the hospital because I was hearing that, you're all by yourself. And it's still the same now, even.
Mhm.
Um, and it was such an unknown.
Right.
It was just, I was, in the beginning, I wasn't as terrified, but then it got worse and got worse and got worse. And it just, every day, I had fever, I was feeling horrible, I had pain all over my body. I had headaches, no taste of smell or, taste or smell or anything. And I can go on with the symptoms,
Mhm.
but I think if I just knew, okay, it's a flu, I would think, okay, it's just a flu and I'll get over it. I'll be fine. But
Mhm.
because it was COVID,
Right.
I honestly didn't know what would happen. And then my family, because my husband, he was taking care, he was great.
Okay.
And he just, that wasn't the right thing, but he just didn't care. He didn't wear a mask and he didn't wear gloves and anything. He was just like, I don't care, changing the sheets and bringing me, orange juice or whatever. And he just didn't care. And, but then my daughter was scared.
Right.
I just, she would cry every night. I could hear, I didn't want her to walk into the room.
I understand.
And she would just sit outside the room. And she's 25 years old,
I was about
so
to
she's,
say,
we're not talking about, a 7-year
right, right,
old little girl, but she was scared. She was scared she's going to lose me.
right.
And then at one point where it wasn't getting better, I even called my attorney and I emailed and I said to him, you need to give power of attorney to my husband
Right.
because I don't know what's going to happen. And it's the first time in my life. I've been sick. I had pneumonia. I had other issues. It's the first time in my life I really thought that I could die. It was pretty scary. And still, I feel I'm lucky that I was home
Mm-hmm.
and one thing was great, I could breathe. I could breathe. I would check myself like, okay, I can breathe,
Right, right. Take a deep breath.
okay, I'm breathing. Okay, still have fever, running fever for like over 2 weeks. I didn't eat anything for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Just couldn't. And it was just, it was quite a adventure.
Mhm.
And then and you couldn't go to the doctor. You couldn't, I tried the virtual thing with the doctor.
Right.
She would be like, okay, well, she didn't. Nobody knew anything.
Nobody
She
knew.
would tell me.
Right.
She's like, well, it's gonna be better. Can you breathe? I'm like, yeah, I can breathe, but otherwise I'm dying.
That's a basic.
Breathe. But that's all I can do is breathe,
Wow.
So it was just insane. But then all of a sudden one day I woke up and I could just smell something a little bit. I could just smell something. And I said, okay. And then the following day I woke up and I would turn on TV and just space out. And I turned on the TV and there was some silly commercial for Dial soap. And there was this funny guy in the shower doing funny dance. And I laughed out loud. It was like, I realized that, oh my God, I'm getting better. I'm laughing. And my daughter, she's like, Mom, because she would come every day and would see this dead body in bed.
Yeah.
And it was just, I felt like I was born again. It was like an amazing feeling that I'm well. And I knew I still, it took a long time to get better and to be well and to go outside and have the strength. But I just felt that it's going to be okay, thank God.
Thank God.
So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. What's really so interesting is another gentleman that I spoke to, the firefighter, and he contracted it, and he kind of had his story was similar to yours, whereas he said one morning I woke up and it was like a switch was changed. Like he said,
that's how I felt.
He was like, okay,
Yeah.
this better, what's going on here? And so what's so interesting, I would say in retrospect, obviously, is how this virus has impacted people, everybody in so many different ways. Some folks had the breathing thing, and everybody seems to have had the body aches.
Yes.
And I'm always curious as to what was that. Okay, before I go there.
Yeah.
So many things. You see, hold on, slow down. You felt better, which was awesome. You distinctly said, "I'm not going to the hospital."
Yes.
Right.
Well,
I've had multiple.
I got to the point. I was at some point. I felt I want to go to the hospital because I felt that I could die. But then my husband said to me, "I'm not taking you to the hospital.
Thank God.
I'm not." Okay. Because we were hearing stories, that actually it wasn't a good idea unless you have to get oxygen and you need to, God forbid, go on ventilator. But if you could just hang in there, it was better to hang in there at home.
Right.
So,
I know everybody, and I can't say everybody, that'd be too loose, but so many folks have told me, survivors have said, I refuse to go to the hospital, or I thought about going to the hospital. I got to the hospital door and I saw that there were people so packed into the emergency room that I refused to go in, and that boggled me initially, just that whole concept, right? We're ready to believe that, okay, if we're not feeling well or whatever it is, we go to the hospital. But with this videotape, I want to call it 24 hours a day cable news or whatever it is, telling us all of this craziness and us seeing it, and the sirens.
Yes. It was, and just watching TV and watching the news and hearing about the refrigerated trucks outside the hospitals. And it was just like, oh my God, like I really don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah. Something
If I
about it.
can, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I ran into a gentleman, who's a contractor, who picked up some work during that period in time. I don't know his background or whatever it is, but he said that he was the guy who dropped off the refrigerated trucks, and to drop off the truck to come back to pick it up, and was talking about, let's call it what it is, the PTSD, right? Um,
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I mean, I can't even as I'm talking to you right now, I'm just like, I can't even fathom, what that is. I know for myself, one of the biggest things is, they were telling us 2 weeks, right? And I talk about this a lot. They said 2 weeks. Whether you're gonna make it or not. So,
Yes. Yeah.
I was on the countdown, right? I said
Yeah.
now, I said now, in 1 week, you do it like you're a 3-year-old. In 1 week, there's 7 days. In
Yes.
14 days. So, okay, 14 days. And then you start counting down. Yeah, 13 days
Uh-huh.
to show symptoms or whatever the case was. And then after you get to that point, you're like, okay. But then they threw this, and when I say they, I mean the powers that be, as it were. And we won't get into
Right.
threw in this terminology of asymptomatic.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So what does asymptomatic mean? I mean, we now know, we're now authorities,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's what we think. But in those early days, right? You're talking about March 13th.
Yes.
Our office transplanted each person who was a part of our team on, I want to say March 6th, March 6th, March 7th, in that immediate. Because we're on 39th Street. We're on 39th
Right.
Street. And in my head, just to kind of let you peer into the playground, which is Dave's head. In my head, I know I'm kind of a free spirit, if that makes sense. And the lion's share of business that I do it in the street, right? So I can't sit at a desk, I can't.
Yeah.
So I'm standing out in front of the building. I'm talking to my clients, and we're working deals, and then I'll go upstairs and do paperwork or whatever it is. And I'm thinking about a 39th Street between 7th and 8th Avenue. And I thought about the number of people. When you stand outside all the time, you know the whole block. You know what I mean? Uh,
Right. Right.
and so you think about the number of people that came in your path, which you knew, right? Everybody rubbed elbows with somebody, right? Who was carrying the virus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know, and
Right.
just that whole mindset, and that's
Yes.
the whole thing. And now you're talking about asymptomatics, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what
And
is that?
that complicates things a little bit.
Somehow, a little bit, you know,
Just a little bit.
just a little bit, because now you're trying to figure out, okay, what if I now is the what ifs. what if
Yeah.
what if I'm asymptomatic? Now I can't go see my mom. Yeah, well, let me not forget my mom, but let me talk about my home. I've got my wife, I've got my kids, I mean, we're here. And it's almost, if we know something is going to negatively impact a family member, we do everything in our power not to do that. But now we got
Right.
the whole asymptomatic deal going on, so we don't
Yeah.
know if we're doing the right thing. You go out there, the drill. You went out,
Yeah.
you masked up, and you went into the packed supermarkets with lines all the way around the block, and
Mm-hmm.
we had the toilet paper scares,
Yeah.
and,
The situation.
and then Lysol was an issue.
Could never understand that one.
Because
Anyway, I understand Lysol, Clorox, bleach, but the toilet paper,
I
I
couldn't.
can understand paper towels because you need paper towels to wipe down the surfaces. But it's just like,
It,
I don't know.
it was absolutely amazing. I remember the
It's
first time
crazy.
that I went to the supermarket during this period in time, and we didn't know where it was coming from, and there was all of this rhetoric about it was coming from this country and that country, and
Yeah.
and creating a divisive nature, and putting you in a space where you didn't trust anybody. You didn't want
Mhm.
people getting into fights because everybody now want to do 6 feet, and they said, well, listen, I never really calculated what 6 feet were, but let me look at the stones on the sidewalk because I know
Yeah.
that that's in
Yeah.
that forever. But just the whole mindset was just far too much. And I guess what I'd like to ask you is, what gave you that strength to pull through? What was that inner voice? There had to be something.
You know what? Well, I have to say, while you're in the midst of it,
Right.
you don't think.
Okay, fair
You
enough.
just, it's like somebody throws you in, under the water, and you just try to swim to survive.
Okay,
You're not thinking, you're not focusing on anything.
gotcha.
You're just it's like you're delirious. Like I
Yeah.
was delirious for more than 2 weeks. And
Hmm.
um, even I had nightmares, and it was just absolutely horrible.
Hmm.
But I have to say that I can't say that I was so afraid of death. Nobody wants to die, obviously, but my concern was my family. That's the thing, that the impact
Of course.
that it would have on my daughter and my son and my husband, and
Mhm.
that terrified me. Just that. So I wanted to make it because they're useless without me.
And we must tell the
They
truth.
need me. Come on. What are they gonna do without me?
You know,
I did it for them.
well, listen. That is a
Otherwise, just say goodbye.
listen. That's a wonderful, wonderful inspiration. Because I think that anybody who was thinking about this, whether it's a person who had been impacted by it, physically, or ones who were scared of being impacted, or just the regular Joe who wasn't thinking about it. I think at the end of the day, we all were thinking about one thing, right? And that one thing is our families.
Yeah. That boils down to that. The most important thing is your family, or people you love, you consider family, whatever family means to you.
Right,
Those people that you love.
right,
And that's the most important thing, because you can do without many other things,
of course.
but it's your family.
Hmm.
And I think, and it breaks my heart to just to think that there's so many families out there that are suffering, who are losing their loved ones, and just they have to be on their own in that room, isolated, without holding somebody's hand, and suffering that way, either even if surviving or dying. That absolutely breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It is so sad. And it's just, that's why what makes this disease so horrible, it's just the loneliness.
Yeah.
And just being, when I was in the room, I was by myself, and you start feeling a little lonely, kind of, when you start feeling anything. But
Mhm.
imagine being isolated
Yeah.
in a hospital like
Right.
that. That's absolutely horrible.
Yeah. I
Absolutely horrible.
I couldn't even wrap. I mean, I understood, but I couldn't wrap my mind around what that must be like. Right. Every family is similar in some kind of way, right? In that, if in fact a family member is ill, or if in fact going through a challenge, there's going to be somebody in the family. May not be the masters of the family, but there's going to be
Yeah.
somebody in that family who's going to make it their way to get to the hospital, the doctor, or whatever it is, to be able to
Mhm.
speak life into them, right? Um,
Yes.
there's a saying that said that the power of life and death is in the tongue. So to be able to just communicate, all right, or just to be able to touch them, right? To just
Yeah.
touch them and so that's a daunting thought for me. It was one
Yeah.
which was just, And so you got all of this stuff racing through your head. And listen, we're pretty intelligent people, right? So we're able to process stuff. You're a business owner of a phenomenal construction company, so we understand you're moving a shaker. You can you can get through it, right? I act like I do what I do, but anyway, I can get through it. But to be able to process all of these moving parts, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. And the biggest thing that I was concerned about was loneliness, because sometimes we say that we're lonely, but we're not really lonely.
Not really, yeah.
Yeah, we're not really lonely. We just wish somebody was there to share in a particular moment or yeah, whatever it is, but this was authentic. I know I've got some young people in my family who have their homes, live on their own is a better way to say it, and they were isolated. These young people,
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure how I would have handled, real talk, Scouts honor. I'm not sure how I would have reacted to being in my four walls by myself.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's
a tough one. Yeah. I actually, I have a friend, a very, very good friend of mine. She lives in the city. She's alone.
Right.
And she got sick and she had COVID and she was alone. So I couldn't really help her because, I was just getting over my COVID when she got sick.
Wow.
And couldn't go to the city. But there were other friends who would just bring the food to her, leave it outside her apartment door, and she would just pick up the food. And she had to isolate for a long time. Like, imagine that. Not just being alone, but being sick. There's nobody to bring you a glass of water. I was lucky that I had somebody who could bring me my vitamins, my Tylenol, and give me a glass of water. Imagine being on your own and feeling miserable and having to get up and get whatever you need.
Wow.
So,
and particularly being so, what I understand, feeling so weak.
Yes.
The weakness factor was
terrible.
Incredible.
Terrible.
During that period in time, did you do things to just kind of stay in motion while you were isolated?
You know what? I could not even think. I mean, I would get up to go to the bathroom because I had to go to the bathroom, obviously, but I could not stand for a minute. I would pass out. It was just, I had to be lying in bed. Like, it was no choice.
Wow.
And then after that, once I started getting better, just it takes a while. You don't realize that, being in bed, not moving for over 2 weeks, you lose your muscle strength. It's funny how like that happens. And then when you start walking, you're like, because I'm into fitness and I do martial arts and I've done martial arts for 20 years.
I'll be sure that when I call you, I say, hello.
But I always consider myself, I'm strong, I'm strong. Right. Forget about it.
Right.
Like I couldn't walk up the hill, it took a while to get back. I mean, it helps to be healthy to begin with. It helps to be in good shape. It helps to be strong because then the recovery is a little easier.
Okay.
So everybody has to go work out now.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I must ask, how is your friend who went through that?
She's fine. She's good. The good thing about it, she didn't have, I had high fever for 2 weeks. She had a little bit of fever in the beginning and then she didn't have fever. She was miserable, but she recovered. She's fine now, totally fine. And what I did also, the moment I could, after I recovered and I tested negative, I contacted a center where they were doing research. I donated plasma because at that time they were saying, donate. And my friend, and I did it only once, my friend has been donating plasma, but she has donated probably 6 times already.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and she still has antibodies. Like I talked to her maybe a month ago, and she still had antibodies. And she was sick end of March, beginning of April. So,
so now that raises something. Tell me a little bit about the antibodies, because I never was able to really get a good hold on what with the antibodies. You know what I'm saying? There was so much stuff coming at the speed of light. You just couldn't grasp it all. But what I understood is that if you had the antibodies, then you couldn't get sick again. Is that accurate or no?
Yes, while you have the antibodies. The problem is the antibodies don't last forever,
That's what it sounds like where you were going.
They last maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months, or maybe with some people a little more. They're still researching that, but it's not immunity like when you get from a shot, like measles or polio. That's lifetime immunity. This I don't think this is lifetime immunity. It's just for a couple of months. And even the shot, the vaccine, I think it's again, it's like a flu vaccine. You have to get it again, every season.
Okay, and that's something, right? That's something new on the frontier. What are your thoughts on that?
The vaccine?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that I believe in science. What can I say? I think it will save people's lives. So I think people should get it.
Yeah, I think I think that with so much, I think that so much of what we've been dealing with as of recent, we just we have to just create a better sense of community, right? Because if we can create a better sense of community, and I think one of the things that the pandemic has caused is really break us all down to like a basic level to understand that we're kind of all the same,
Right.
all of this divisiveness and all this other craziness. I don't like you because Dave, I don't like you because you got a white beard, and you should diet.
Yeah.
I said you should diet. I said, okay, or you're from here or there. You understand? I think that one of the things that if there's any blessing in it, is that it's created once we've humbled, right? These things humble you. Listen, I wasn't laying down sick with it, but it humbled me, to the point to really get a new perspective and to begin to think, and hence the encouragement campaign, really to begin to think about other people and what they're dealing with, and begin to look at those things that we've been able to put together in our family and in our lives and our lifestyles, and kind of, I think what it's done also is it should have taken complaints off our lips.
Right.
Does that make sense at all?
It does. But you know what? Human nature is such that we will be complaining.
We're coming back. We're coming back.
I've been complaining for months now.
Well, listen. You had some reason to be complaining. Everybody don't know, but you had some reason to be complaining. But
I wish I could be like, oh my God, why should I complain about this problem? I almost died from COVID. Like, but we're not like that. It's just,
it's like once we conquer it, we're like,
but it's always good to come back to gratitude, and be grateful. And always remember, we are blessed in many ways, and be grateful for that. So
and it's funny. It's funny we say we always come back to complaining.
Yes. No matter will complain.
We do. It's like
In the winter, it's too cold. In the summer, it's too hot. Whatever. We'll be complaining. It's too noisy. It's too quiet. It's whatever. I think it's just the human. Otherwise, I don't know. It would be too boring. If everything was perfect, I don't know.
right. But I think that the nice way that folks put a bow on it, they say it's the human condition.
Yes, it is. It is. We can't get rid of it. There is no vaccine for that.
Right. You know, I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the vaccine. You know that I don't know much about it. You know, like most folks don't know much about it. But I'm excited about the fact that we've been able to, with our ingenuity, to come up with something that can begin to fight it off. You know,
Yes.
one of the things for a minute there was looking like, you know, this was just going to go on and on and
I
on.
know. That was a scary, scary thought.
Yeah, you know, and you know, just so you know, with the recent developments, you know, in science, I too believe in science, you know, so it it's just with so much that's been filtered in our heads, you know, I got to ask the question, you know, what are your thoughts on that? You know, just to get a different
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that if folks are able to um, be able to honor the science, right? Meaning, if folks are able to, you know, wash your hands, you know, keep your social distance, you know, wear your mask, have courtesy.
Yes.
You know, what's funny to me is that these things that they're talking about, these are all things that our parents taught us growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mama or Papa said, "Listen, when you come out from playing, wash your hands before you eat."
Yes.
It's, I mean,
That's right.
if your parents anything like mine,
Yeah.
that's what they said. You know, they said if you're going to cough, cover your mouth.
Yeah. That's
You
right.
know, right? These are some of like the basic
Yeah.
principles.
Yeah.
And somehow or another, we've gotten away from them. If you had to inspire somebody who's going through a difficult time now, what would you say?
Don't lose your hope. You know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
You know, it's going to work out. While you're in the midst of it, it's really hard to believe that or feel that.
Right.
But it's just even saying it while you may not believe it that moment,
Mm-hmm.
it's important just to
Mm-hmm.
keep hoping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you feel this experience has changed you at all?
I can't say that it was life changing,
Okay.
but it did make me appreciate what I have more, and give me more gratitude for sure. For
Okay.
sure. I'm just grateful for you know, surviving it, and I'm well, and you know, I'm with my family, and that's the most important thing. So definitely, you appreciate life more for sure.
I would suffer to say that this is probably a very, very special Christmas for you.
Yes, yes, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I know for myself and you know family members, though we can't do as we would like to do, you know, it's a special holiday season, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to say, you know, to you and to your family, husband, daughter, son. I think you mentioned. I'd
Yes, yes.
like to wish you guys just a
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
phenomenal holiday season. I'm so glad to have taken a few minutes just to kind of share with you. Um, let's move forward to having an absolutely wonderful new year despite it all. We're
Yes,
bigger, we're better, we're stronger. And I think most important of all, we know that there is nothing that can conquer us if we have the will to survive.
yes, I agree.
Listen, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for the time. I'm going to say goodnight. I always say it doesn't have to be a long time to be a good time. I hope you've had some fun having coffee with me.
Absolutely. Had a wonderful time, and thank you so much. I really appreciate
I
it.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And I look forward. I'll probably give you a call tomorrow.
Okay, let's do that.
Julia, thank you so much. Have a good evening. I don't want to keep you, the hour is far spent, but enjoy your evening. And thank you once again.
Thank you.
From me, the encouragement campaign. We throw you a big hug.
Yes. Virtual hug.
Virtual hug.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.